In this video, we are going to get our ball to bounce off the sides of the screen. So right now you should have a title screen and you can click anywhere to take you to the next screen. And then when you press any key, the ball should move and yours possibly goes off the screen, but mine is going to bounce off the top and then the side and then it's going to stop. You can barely see it there. It stops when it hits the bottom. Um, Maybe I'll bring that up a little bit. It's a little bit too low. I would like it to stop and then see the whole ball. And then I might speed it up a little bit. And just for testing purposes, I might make it bounce off the bottom just for now before I get my paddle going, just so I can make sure that all the walls are working. Okay, so I'll take you to my code and we just have to adjust the ball class. So go to your ball class and we're only going to make some changes to the move method. Okay, so you remember in your Brick Breaker game, we're actually calling the move method inside this draw game screen. So we're asking our ball to move. And again, this is called inside the paint. And paint is called over and over in my action perform method. Okay, and that is controlled by the timer, which is running every 10 milliseconds. Okay, so one way to make this game faster is to just reduce that. So if I make that, let's say 1 millisecond, and then if I compile, I just have to compile the main here. That should compile everything for me. So this should run faster. Actually, not too much faster. Another way of making it faster is just adding some values to your dx and your dy vectors. So you can make these bigger. Be careful not to make these too big though. Maybe I will up this to like -3 and -5. If you make them too big, then there's a chance that the ball could kind of float right through a brick or right past the edge of the screen. Okay, I'm going to flip back to the ball class and go down to the move method. So the first thing we're doing is adding to our x and y. Remember the x and y are the top left corner of your ball. Okay, so that's important. X and y are the top left coordinates of your ball graphic. Or the circle that you've drawn. Okay, so I added this code here. So we're going to check collision with the left and right walls. So because x is the top left corner of the ball, we just have to check to see if it's less than 0, then that means the ball is over the left side of the screen. So what I'm going to do are one thing that's kind of obvious is I want to change dx to -dx. So I want the horizontal position to start going the other way. One thing that might not be so obvious is this right here. So what that does is it forces the top left coordinate to have an x value of 0. What that means is if the ball just happens to overlap, so remember the ball might be moving pretty fast, and it might go several pixels past 0. So what I wanted to do is kind of force it back to the edge really quickly. So it kind of gives that effect that it's bouncing right off the wall as opposed to going through it. Okay, so then we're checking collision with the right wall. Okay, so my frame is 1200 by 800. So I'm going to add the diameter of the ball, which is called size. Okay, that's one of your instance variables. Yeah, so this is the diameter of your ball. So I'm going to say if x plus size is greater than 1200, then I'm going to snap this back to 1200 minus size, again, just in case it goes past the edge. And I'm going to make dx assigned to the negative of dx. So that will make the direction, the horizontal direction, go the opposite way. Okay, and then I'm going to check collision with the top wall. So now we're checking y. If the y value is less than 0, we're going to snap y back to 0, and we're going to change the y direction. And then we're going to check if the game is over. So if y plus size is greater than 100, or sorry, 800, I'm going to change that. Remember that my ball kind of went off the screen when I ran it at the beginning. So I'm going to change this to maybe 7 60. Let's just see what that looks like. So if that's the case, then I'm going to set both dx and dy to 0. In other words, the ball is going to stop moving. And then after you do all this, after you change x, y, dx, dy, then we're going to draw the ball. And again, that's a real simple method that simply just draws your image at this top left coordinate and a width and height of size. Okay, let's check it out. So we're going to run it. It should be a little bit faster. And it should stick to the bottom when it hits the bottom of the screen. Okay, yeah, a tiny bit faster. Okay. Now, I am, just for testing purposes, I'm going to change this. So if it hits the bottom of the screen, I'm just going to change y to 760 minus size. So I'm just going to snap the y value back to that coordinate, and then I'm going to change dy to negative dy. So basically, later I'm going to change this back. But right now, just for testing purposes, I want to just have the ball bouncing across the screen so I can kind of see if all of the walls are working. So let's check this out. Okay. And hopefully, yeah, okay, bounces pretty good. And then off the top, let's see if the left looks okay. Okay, looks all right. I mentioned a while ago, I didn't do this, but if you wanted, you could have a kind of a wall going all the way around, and you could do that. You could go and find an image of like a textured brick wall or whatever kind of wall you want, and then what you could do is just fill the whole screen with that texture, like that wood or brick wall, and then you could draw your regular, like your space background, just a little bit smaller, and then you could see kind of the edges popping through. So if you don't have to do that, but if you decide to do that, you're going to have to change your coordinates for your collisions just ever so slightly. But it might give a bit of a better look to your game. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to try to make a paddle move left and right and have the ball respond to colliding with the paddle. And we'll go on from there. Okay, see you in the next one.